Hey everybody, how's it going? PARACONOMY Inc. Chilling here with some civilian disclosure on the cusp 12/12 2/12 2025. We're here to disclose some of the interplanet tesseracting between the Indian Ocean and Lake Michigan. Apparently, the crystal and geothermic involvement of my Capricorn birthday had something to do with the human trafficking and the Russian malware bot that was on my Dropbox and was forcing me around to bless lakes, crash cars, inadvertently go to jail, and stand up for trans rights for the past 4 years. So I've been able to pull out several different hats and occurrences, and it takes us back to 2010, um, where things were changing between me being legally able to drink in Chicago and the people who were around me. Now, this leads to a slew of individuals, of people who I recognize from friends who have networked through other friends. Now, there's bands from Downers Grove involved. There's recording studios in Memphis and Nashville that are also involved, along with the ESPN bars and all of the other affiliates that have led to the downfall of our current climate on the web, on the entertainment industry, on all sorts of parts of different talented people and individuals that have been a slew of networkings that I've been helping people to bite off of my own style. Now, these people are riding each other around and hiding other concurrent agendas using your imagination. We're using rocks and your imagination, and that makes the future happen. According to the new disclosure here today, we're going to lean into the fact that there are a few different routes that people have decided to take when it comes to the beneficiaries of human development. And if you're evolved enough, it's a big slap in the face to a lower tier level society. So we're hitting the sci-fi button really hard instead of this globalization of using your imagination and being better than people. So if that's a big part of an agenda that's currently being sown into today's reading levels and articulation, because we're doing schools differently, and if we're doing pedophilia in schools now openly, that it opens up the door of what it is that we're learning about magic and the imagination. Because if there are people on this country that are currently committing murders, and there's a human trafficking in the lucid dreams that I have, and that leads to this idea that we have tesseracts into the and that lead in between particle acceleration through the planet, and that interacts with the tachyons and the different black hole theories that we're currently experiencing just simply by touching rocks. Now, I'm curious as to like what this trend is, if it's an evolutionary thing that is being co-opted by the politicians that are putting people in charge and the rallying around those things, or is it a more deeply ingrained insider secret about what's happening behind the camera, what's happening in the engineer's chair, what's happening with these PC builders and the silicone they're using to create some of the different science, the now backwards engineered alien technology that's allowing us to utilize this corneal conceptual reticuloforum as a type of radiation, or 5G, 5D to 3D displacement. Is it giving us the virtue signaling of being able to choose to two-dimensionalize people, making it black and white, so that it's more consolidated, it's more sleek and aerodynamic for us to do a path of least resistance. Now, we need to look at some of the scientific implications. There are plenty of different routes we could take this civilian disclosure. Currently, I'm beaming into civilian disclosure with an old set of friends who turned me onto some of the acid parties that I basically was taking part in, and led to this possible bubbling of psychedelia and conversational banter on telepathy or shining. So if there's this thing going on and there's people who have been sleeping behind my back, there's a couple people: Joel, Don, Haley, Mike, Davis family, freaking my sister, the Cheney family, okay, freaking the Hilton family, freaking other celebrities, and like things that are going into congruency towards my company and what I have been leaving free of charge, essentially, as long as it comes with a lesson. And that people have been taking bits and pieces of my likeness and my life over the past decade or so, since at least these parties where I was encouraged to maybe step out of my comfort zone if I was looking to break through into the industry, which meant to take a drug I was not comfortable looking at taking at the time. And it took me several years to advance myself, to decide to actually pull the trigger and take it. And it ended up being worth it. It ended up taking advantage of my internal dialogue. I'm able to express myself more poetically and creatively and enigmatically. And I'm not stifling myself over the fact that I can't get it out, or wouldn't want to hurt somebody to get it out, because of the path of least resistance that I'm currently, creating with some of these demagogal, more Christian, secular, churchy stuff. In case you needed more Christians, the government had me come back to Christianity, even if only save myself for a second and ask God to cleanse my sins. It was a simple process, just like they teach in Bible school. As simple as it was effective enough to get this part of the insider club on whatever it is that's happening spiritually on this planet, that's allowed people into my destiny. And if somebody jumped on and railroaded my destiny and is currently just running from me just because they networked with people I didn't even introduce them to, but they went around me to meet. It's these bands, these networks. If Adam Smith went around with my sister and Jeff Cheney, okay, if they're running around with with Mike Capadeus and my bridge school program friends, if my neighbors are looking into this network after I took Cassie to Chicago to show her off, and Cassie's been spearheading some of this with Dakota Edwards on the dark web, using my social security, but then more advanced theology, using archaic revival techniques in science fiction, pressing matter and compiling it into this one big like singularity and event on my likeness. And I didn't get paid here in America or informed about it the right ways. And so far that it had to write off it public enemy number one, red flag. Okay. And the government came and looked at the orangey ready thing and said, holy shit, this is a big like event of that that's about to take place. So let's look into this. They came into my apartment using astral projection in October 2022 for the better half of the whole month, forward onwards and slowly tapering off as they're using me as a study at Harvard, in which they released a current essay saying that there's aliens in the moon and in our planet potentially, that there's crypto terrestrials in a Harvard study paper, and that what I had said about the human genome of humans crawling out of volcanoes is accurate, and somebody has my destiny. That there could be some very strange things going on that these wizard people may or may not have access to in my Akashic records and my Kemet chart. any alchemical transmutations. They're able to rewrite and vex over popularity, vanity, the entertainment industry, to utilize my family 1222 to 12/2025, to utilize my legacy here at Paraconomy as a dual state ambassador. Excuse me. 12/23 to 12/2025. That these sacred synchronicities and this rock magic and alchemy isn't just an imagination or a telepathic design. That what we're actually gambling away is acute possibilities and destinies. And that people have access to very sensitive information that is emulating and modulating our destinies, our spiritual acuities, that creating dither and the quality, decreasing quality on the image and selling it back to us is a part of why we need to buy into the imagination and these rocks and the stones and the networking of like people that are currently winning at crime, who also want to look at utilizing this leverage against innocent people and selling them cheaper futures that look right but don't feel exactly as fulfilling, because the quality's being zorped. You still have the same thing, but it's a downgraded, pixelized JPEG version. It's not a 8K extravagant ocular 3D TV. And if they're just upgrading that to our imagination using things like Neuralink and Doop at Paraconomy, then it makes sense that it is being co-opted and utilized here. 12/25 to 12/2025. And that people who are responsible for these things, and if there's sex magic and murders and things like that, that there's triangulation. People are meeting each other. They're riding my coattails in order to create the inertia to get where they're at today, and that's to pull one over on me. So, in civilian disclosure, it sounds like these people met at a recent techno festival, and then the Marshmallow Sudden Death Red Rocks tour, and it's just been kind of out of hand because they're monitoring me, and some of the festival kids have been monitoring me for quite some time. The arts community, they monitor everybody to see if there's gallery worthy art being made. So yeah, but there's pirates, basically. There's kids who found out that's what the teachers do at the school, that's what faculty do, and that there's basically new kids on the block who are able to rewrite it very swiftly, and are mean about it. They're pretty fucking mad. So they are holding me hostage, intellectually speaking, which is why I have to basically gamble back my likeness here, utilizing the personas of the people involved, and how they have backstabbed me, and how many times they've gotten away with backstabbing me, why, and what it's supposed to mean for my 20s, what happened in my 20s, and how come people had different, less intense, nightmarish waking lives and lucid dreams, why their relationships went better, why their mushroom trips didn't show them tattoos on their face, and they did for me. Why in the dreams that I have later on in life, other people have tattoos on their face, just like mine. Why the psilocybin and the mushrooms connected my clairvoyancy between dreams of the hand of God pulling me out of reality. What is it that I missed that society decided to take a big right on in disclosure and civilian disclosure because I did not get the memo? And it's starting to bleed over into my personal life, which things have changed here. So that seems to be kind of clear as day. If that gives you a little bit of the chills and the heebie-jeebies, it probably should, because I've survived a lot of your worst days and your worst nightmares or feelings and thoughts about things. Not every single one of them, but there are some less than comfortable positions you would have liked to have been put in, and people wouldn't have been put into the current ones that we just voted in. So if that's what's concurrently going on, and the president's even listening, I just had a concurrent viewer here on OBS. So like if that's what's going on and I'm being spied on, and there's like a small sector that's I've been blacklisted off the internet and like shadow banned for a moment while society can speed up, and I'm left with less of an outlet, less of followers, less of viewers, a lot of bots, a lot of things that don't actually add into what they're doing, that the government has used the internet to cap off my likeness in source of my life in witness protection, because they know that I'm a proxy Jesus, and that my likeness on Christmas actually has an effect on the pagan magic and the Wiccan magic that they're utilizing in my likeness to replace my expeditious life and post and pre-life. Here, Necronomicon, had to grab a copy. It's changing some of it a little bit, ideally, because I'm using opposite of the Bible. So like in my head, I need to yin yang this thing, and it seems to be having an effect on the conversation at all. So that's something, and the Doop just said miss us with that. But if they're using Illuminatic, there's plenty of Anunnaki and Egyptian magic UFO experiences that haven't been utilized about evil Necronomicon magic and post-mortem lifespans, because if the Tibetan Book of the Dead also has a resonation on any of this stone culture, and we just bury bodies now, we cremate them more now than we've buried them, and then there's displacement because there's ghosts in these bad boys. Look at this thing. If there's a ghost in this thing, and I'm just talking straight to it, and it's underneath this 4K camera, you don't think that like the magnetism in that? I'm just curious, because now, and also, if Skrillex didn't copy my broken projector before I broke all the burnt glass off, if Skrillex push cover didn't come from the same thing, this piece of plastic is the Skrillex push cover for the single push. Fine Day, the new single, is a copy of a femboy Asian getting killed by a smeared face leprechaun. Okay, so yes, I'm the Fine Day girl with the hat on singing. That is my likeness. And if I died early and my soul, and what the government said was true, and the celebrities do this a lot, and that my soul got sucked into a computer and I died for a second so they could like zorp my memories and consciousness so they could absorb my likeness. If there's some weird Hollywood FBI technology that they're not explaining, but they're putting in everybody's like face, And on top of that, they're utilizing that to track my old friend groups and causing them to murder each other. It makes sense that they're just using haphazard incidences like this, where I got hit with a DV charge on a his word versus her word versus thing, where you don't have to check, and you wouldn't have to check on me. It's just that now it's looking really awkward and fishy, and that people are making money off of it, or they're not even acknowledging that they owe me a different life or a different outcome or anything. That it's starting to look like I got covered up completely over a few conversations people were afraid to have with me. And if people went around me and went and embarrassed themselves by having sex with one another, by and then learning about more luxuries in America that most people don't have access to, then that is what we're supposed to look at going to war over. And if we're not taking it seriously today, that it makes going to war overseas that much harder to talk about and more taboo, which is something that would be horrible for human history, to have to repeat more bad wars that don't add to the weight of all war. Yes, okay. So it does have a function, right? Whether or not I agree about war, it's not going anywhere. It's part of art of war. It's part of my people's understanding of yin and yang, is that, look, there's bad things, and there is inertia wise, there's polarity and infinity to good and bad. We're in a moment and a season of peace in some parts of the world, here in the stone mason freemason techniquing, and other places of the world we are concurrently balancing out the lesser. So it's kind of a bit of an enigma that if we're trying to advance a part of society that grew a frontal lobe, decalcified their pineal glands, and now have a third conceptual brain and or heart, and that we're evolving as humans, and certain people have chakral resonancies that are on the same wavelength on a 5G, and they're able to communicate with non-human entities. We have a new company. I'm doing something different than just cutting and scratching or playing drums. I'm not just rapping, rhyming, singing anymore. This is the new platform that I was supposed to be interested and involved in, made popular, repopularized, and now is being co-opted by corporations and being covered up by my friends and families and foes. So if that's actually happening, somebody can talk to me 12:35 to 12:36 a.m. and that somebody isn't actually lending out the secret of how they got to where they're at because they're afraid of getting in trouble. Well, they already got caught. So in that sense, yeah, if there's this whole weird leftist right-wing agenda, psyop, co-opting of consciousness and divine pathways in society that's advancing humanity beyond our wildest dreams, and we're just now getting a taste of it because we're poor and because I have college debt up to my eyeballs, doesn't it make sense that my family has been keeping this from me in order to teach me a lesson, just like they did 10 years ago when they said, go get a job, stop smoking pot, you're making the family look bad? Is this the same thing? Or are you guys connected to some less than desirable outcomes in society? And my prophetic dreams that I've been explaining as lucid shamanistic rites of passage to my family since 24 to 34 for the past 10 years have been lies on the other end of the people who actually should have received those things. Just because I wasn't pleasant boy. I became You guys asked me to be more like my sister. What? Don't I look so pretty though? So, like, if that's something that happened and I grew a pair of tits to go compete and be like, hey, look, I'm competent, I'm sexy, I'm desirable beyond just what I have on the inside, because that wasn't good enough for you, doesn't it mean that people went around me and I had to do all of this extra stuff to not be an abusive male, to learn more about women's culture and women's rights, and now they're railroading my lesson that I wanted to teach. I'm supposed to have a pilgrimage from Michigan to Hawaii, bring back the culture that I've created. So much so, the cargo cult aliens from the Philippines like gave me a brr, brr. Hey, you're Buddha. You're like a Jesus Buddha. Your parents aren't gonna mention it, but like, and I like start tapping into it, and I find out it's more real than I thought. Then, yeah, I got to the finish line before a lot of other people, and they railroaded me and my likeness for greedy and lustful drugs and sex and violence. Because I'm a nice guy, because I'm chill, because I'm easy to please, easy to get along with in that sense. And they bent that against me because they're prideful. And small towns, small minds, well, I escaped. I broke a lot of generational curses. So much so that if somebody did put a hit out on me, and it was more than just human trafficking through the dark web from my dad's ethical hacking skills at Mesa, the teachers union insurance company, and Dakota Edwards on the dark web feeding a line directly to the cops, and they're hacking body cams and stuff like that, potentially, then it kind of starts. Hands free. Hey, I just wanted to DJ at like North Coast or something. I just wanted some clout at like React Detroit or React Chicago, and play with Excision and Skrillex, dude. That's all I wanted. I don't know what all this extra shit is, but like, you know, once they let me know I could make beats for aliens and like art and stuff, and just kind of have a pretty decent life, because I'm some sort of weird Hawaiian royalty. But they don't want me to go to my head or something, or whatever, you know. Then that happened, and the current agenda and standard for what people are looking at for to communicate with me. They keep, oh, we heard you're hard to get along with, so we don't like fighting. Quick, go get his shit. We're mugging the fuck out of him, but being real nice. Quick. If that's going on, and and then it's paranormal, and you guys don't give a fuck. Excuse my language. But hands off, hands free. I give it to God. I'm back in Christianity. Go. Here you go. You need better Christians. I think I just gave you a really good lead towards it, the idea of it. So if that's the case, hey, what's up? I'm Proxy Jesus. I'm currently controlling all the airplane crashes that they're televising. I'm working in congruence with things that get televised on bills that are passing right now. I'm creating, but not really. That's more your guys' stand. I'm just helping the echo chambers on civilian disclosure. And how the stock market is being accessed by, well, several different ways of these bill passings, basically, that people want to vote in. Okay, hands off. I don't touch on those things, but like, at some point I have to start prying and looking through some things to see how related the UN would have Supreme Court justice look at my resume. Because if I'm supposed to become a Supreme Court justice at the UN someday as a intergalactic ambassadorship, and this is the legacy that's supposed to get me there, that it makes sense that at Paraconomy Inc. that they got me on the right public speaking things in college when my counselors put me on it, and they saw that I took fish to water. Even though I flunked out, I gave one of the best speeches that they've had all semester, all year. So like, teacher reported it to like higher ups, like, hey, I flunked this kid out. He was so funny, and he had everybody laughing there for just like a few seconds. I'm glad I kicked him out, but I'm glad I had him here. And he gave it a good college try. They saw that I had leveled up as a frat boy. I'd been hazed and like gotten through the initiation at Columbia. And that, like, you know, if my colleagues and my dorm, my flatmates were as in cahoots with, I know Andrew Goodman's attached to the other end in Tel Aviv, and frickin' Darian Garrett frickin' get streamlined to Brad. If Brad's screwing frickin' neighbor Sadie and she's screwing a bunch of people, well, then it makes sense that a lot of them somebody leaked out my network before I was going to, because they took advantage of me. They knew it was easy. And I probably would have done the same thing in that sense, right? And so they're like, whatever. But like, now it's out of hand, and now it's like everybody's problem. Biden found out. Biden hit some buttons. And so that's why the TikTok ban happened right on the inauguration day, basically. The TikTok ban was removed. And, well, you guys jumped right back on it, just like they predicted, and you agreed to some new things. Notice the Detroit letters in Detroit are kind of easy to make fun of. Yeah, that's because of me. I'm not a very good graphic designer because my girlfriend told me to stop drawing. So so Kate told me to stop drawing, and it made the Detroit letters kind of crappy and memeable. So they went with my oh, how are you being really treated though, pervert murderer? So they're calling me the pervert murderer. Oh, they're like, okay, great. My sister's a writer. I'm an uncredited writer now because I went out to bless some of the land in California and LAX while I was on the run. So there's like a little bit of my writing like forward and backwards of my likeness on another part of like some of this stuff. So that led me to becoming a Jedi. Now I'm a Jedi. On top of it, an ordained goddess and shaman. And it's finally official, but it's like, if this would have happened 10 years ago when I'd asked my parents what they were looking to do, and they said, we're trying to become landowners and land frickin' realtors. We're looking to sell this and turn it into a subdivision. But we'll probably end up giving it to a lease. I said, don't just leave me out, please. I want to grow mushrooms here for a little bit because I'm talking to aliens and stuff. And we had a really good heart-to-heart about it. And they were like, no. And they pushed me out. It's been 10 years. I've been studying mycology on and off. In fact, I met some trans people, Kat and Sammy. They hooked up with Ethan, and he got a job growing mushrooms here in Michigan officially. Now they're a part of this small little network that they've got going on that they cut me out of because they got the wrong ideas, and they made it a big deal, and now they grow their own mushrooms basically. But they kind of cut me out. I have an entire like lab here. I have a whole system, and they railroaded my friends and family. It sounds like they even got my parents' infidelity involved, and they're having sex with some of the same people. So, seeing as that's going on, and now my colleagues, Darian, and his friend upstairs, Unique, are like intertwined with Carlos and Maka, and they're starting to traffic some illegals through our country. that we at least shine a light on their responsibility of it, and that getting everybody who's involved, the Winkle family, the Herbert family, who's involved with integration, come look at me as an example for integration. Because if I'm being displaced as a Hawaiian and it's supposed to happen, but it's happening this way, and you guys promised America you weren't going to let that happen, then we need to look at what you're about to do by sneaking a bunch of Mexicans and Latinos and undesirable to some people. But we've already got plenty of whites. We have over 200 million white people in America on the 2020 census. Okay, we have over 200 million white people. It washes out the entire country of majorative still to this day. Okay, in Michigan, I believe it's 10 million. We have 4 million blacks. It's like scaled down. It's like 41. It's 2 million whites, 41 million blacks, 100 million non-whites, and then like 3,000. There's like 500,000 basically, and then 3,000 of which reside here in Michigan, of Hawaiians and Native Hawaiians and royalty like me. And seeing my family was picked by the draft out in World War II during Hiroshima, and the nunnery that my grandmother was a part of, and the Leilani farms and estates out there that my Aunt Lonnie is named after. That I'm not owed compensation for the island fire that all of this secular Wiccan witchcraft and celebrity triangulation in Illuminatic construct on societal alchemy and the transmutation of our enigmatic architecture and just being able to tabernacle kind of swing deals on being like, look, your sin should cost this much, let's give you this. And that's all happening over here and over here and here. But once it happens to me, unless I go out and kill somebody and make it a big deal, this is the smartest way, non-confrontational way for me to dichotomize my difference, because that's the biggest part on the bar, is knowing how much illegal and how much legal were at the bar, and then which way did it displace the future. So if that led to this weird stone masonry and Illuminatic ceiling on our dollar bills, why they're trying to start cashless societies is so you can use your imagination to gain more money or whatever it is. And there's this new alien Neuralink that you can just take acid or ketamine and like enter into alien technology and frequency. This new age technology and illicit partying led to the evolutionary development, socially speaking, for us to be able to railroad society. Where and now people can afford to fuck the people they've always wanted to fuck, and it's making life better. And now kids are being told it's okay to masturbate while you're at home learning, because we're doing a lot of that now. And they're just, you could be, even if they have the old school where teachers are sleeping with kids and then trafficking them, because that's another thing that they're covering up here, is that they're mixing the stone magic with pedophilia, and human trafficking covers up money for the cops, and the dark web is all freaking over. My dad is a technician and ethical hacker for Mesa, the insurance company for Michigan's teachers union. I think there's some human trafficking being covered up by people in my family. And I think me speaking about it widely on how much they've exploited my network and connections without talking to me has enough say on how spoiled they thought I was in congruence to my harsh reality. that I actually had to endure, survive, martyr my life, and suffer. I had to change a lot of lifestyle choices. Not that I'm not interested, but if I became trans because of money and I'm being booted out for money, but it healed me as a man, that you guys need to look at what type of radical feminism got involved and mixed up that killed my late partner that I was gonna rekindle something with someday and try to make something worth it. But you guys said, no, Future, you can't have a baby first because Ginger we just used your inheritance to marry Ginger, your cousin, who's out in Colorado with Adam Smith and Haley, utilizing your likeness, utilizing your efficacy, utilizing your Hawaiian legacy and pilgrimage, because we already decided you're not going to be the one to represent in front of all of those Asian people. Respectfully, you're just not there. You're not articulate. You're not charming. And you're a woman now. I'm sorry. So go pick up the broken pieces of my life, please. Because I wasn't done living it. And I think you murdered somebody. Okay. That's pretty much all I've got here on PARACONOMY Inc. today. Dark little foreboding ending because, well, we need to hold the law accountable of why I have a DV charge. I'm now being sniped at from cars, and I'm not allowed to get a gun for 8 years. I don't know about all of this. I think there's some scams going on, and I've been framed, just like I said in the beginning, and now you have to recognize me as a full-fledged CEO before you take anything to court, any slant angles, without my likeness that I've paralleled with the possibilities and the language that we use for them. Because if there's not a separation between church and state, and I can't also express that and make money off of my likeness that was used behind my back, that it doesn't justify what's happening for our future today and how much money they lost on not being able to talk to me and not enable me to teach, not enable me to help and breathe new life and spirituality in the public school system, let alone humanity and my people in both Hawaii, California, Vegas, all over the place. And that it's just too messy because you're on LSD or mushrooms, and your friends told us what happened. But nobody talked to me about how well I'm at, how well versed and healed I've been getting, how much time I've taken to meditate in the past 10 years. It kind of makes you wonder if people were really there for you. And that's my biggest concern, is the safety of others. Always, as a lifeguard person, Hawaiian lifeguard guy, I'm supposed to look out for others. Okay? It's part of what I have been guided to do, and the government has stepped in and been increasingly, dude, yes. Tom DeLonge came in with Lou Elizondo and some other LV leprechauns and people and things. Okay? Talked to Lucifer, talked to Santa Claus. I've talked to some figments, okay, of imagination that aren't so imaginary, okay? And that is about as Christmas birthday as I could get. So if the aliens did do a good job and they've helped me stay alive and it's causing you to question, how are you still alive? We set out a hit on you. Then, well, there's aliens. Welcome to PARACONOMY Inc. I co-opt a lot of their likeness. There's aliens working for me as we currently speak. There's angels, aliens, demons, all sorts of paranormal things currently working to spread the right ambassadorship and likeness formally and informally. So just beware that you could all of a sudden start seeing phantasmal beings, experiencing more voices and shuddering and things like that in your imagination as we start opening up this advancement of technology that I have more experience with. I've been doing a little bit longer before they open it up. Or that doing it at all is a big deal for a certain community who has been looking to be more selective with it. I pray that people stay safe with this information. This is now my likeness has been utilized in a halftime show for the Super Bowl. So, just start watching those basketball commercials, and those hockey commercials will probably start having a lot more pervert murderer and probably some Paraconomy Inc. and just a general atmosphere for Professor Fun. A lot of comparing and imagery, like the Disney commercial, where they have a contrast of a hardworking, like salty white man, like in like a extreme situation, and then they contrasted over a like super Chad in this like box house in like Finland. But if that second part is being filmed inside the planet, and it's only advertised for the people who are in the most of the luxurious virtual realities, and that I was actually human trafficked, framed as a pedophile, because there's this new enigmatic technology that people have access to, can build their own, and are now utilizing as a form of like occurrence and strategy to use against a lesser beings in society. But they don't know, they thought I was like that and I'm like this, that they got lied to too, and that I wasn't able to be like, hey, I'm like enigmatically technique, I figured out this shit all by myself, instead of people who were like fed a Grateful Dead lyric or String Cheese Incident or Billy Scriggs or whatever the hell you guys decided to take acid with and be like, this is the new wizard. All right. If you guys are doing that, just understand a lot of my yin yang shamanism has been co-opted, and it's put on the wrong way. So be advised, your white colloquial colonizer culture is on strings too. And if we're not looking to play them in harmony, you're not going to get a lot of pleasurable sounds and or vibes. So please understand that this is how we are all connected. And if we're not attempting to consolidate these loose strands, if we're just loose wires, and we're not utilizing these aliens or angels or enigmatic beings with more likeness, is that they want to sue me over this. They want to sue me over the fact that they can see these beings and have been using them for free. And they've been using them the wrong way, because they found out how to make the front door open, but they don't know about the garage door yet. They don't. So like that's all. But if they completely just railroaded my likeness, my intellectual property and discovery, and they're just like, and that does not help society. You need to make an example out of these people, and you walk their asses the fuck to court. Okay? That being said, keep adding weight to this. The more fuck up shit you do with this, the more money we make at the big commission. All right? It's 101. I'm Professor Fun 101 at Paraconomy Inc. 2/12/2025. You guys stay classy. You guys stay rich. Get rich. We're going to hit the Valentine's Day and Happy Chinese New Year. I hope everybody's having a good one. Hope you get rich. I love you guys. Send in love, light, all that good stuff. Hail Satan, praise the Lord, praise all gods and goddesses that serve our greater goods. And thanks, Buddha. Thanks, Anansi. Thanks, Jesus. And